roadshow quite like the BMW M2. We think it's the best driving M car in quite some time. In fact, our praise has been so effusive, you'd be forgiven for wondering if there's any way at all that BMW could improve on the M2. Fortunately, BMW's engineers could imagine a few ways to improve on it. Meet the M2 Competition. So what's changed? The M2 Competition is more powerful, quicker, faster around a track, and critically, even more fun to drive. Gone is the old car's single-turbo 3-litre inline-six engine. It's been replaced with the twin-turbo 3-litre engine from the M3 and M4. That means an extra 40 horsepower for a total of 405, and an extra 63 pound-feet of torque for a total of 406. 0 to 60 takes just 4 seconds flat, but what that number doesn't tell you is how effortlessly fast this car is at all times. The engine and the 7-speed dual-clutch transmission are so instantly responsive that there's a huge wave of acceleration as soon as you put your foot down. It seems like there's no turbo lag at all, and with so much torque readily available so quickly, this car feels even faster than the numbers suggest. Going along with the extra power, the M2 Competition gets upgraded suspension all round, a gorgeous carbon fiber strut brace borrowed from the M3 and M4, and bigger brakes. With all those upgrades, this thing hangs on around bends even more tenaciously than ever before. Now, one thing that you won't find on the M2 Competition is adaptive dampers, which is a bit of a surprise because they've kind of become a staple on all modern performance cars. But on the other hand, I kind of appreciate the simplicity. Here's one suspension tune that works all the time rather than 2 or 3 different ones that are slightly compromised and I have to pick between when I get onto a twisty road. Although it is a little bit disappointing that there's this empty switch button down here where the damper button would be on other 2 Series models. Now, if you want a metric of how much faster this car is with all the extra power and the handling and braking upgrades, BMW says the M2 Competition is about 4 seconds quicker per lap around the Nürburgring than the old M2, which is a figure that will be super relevant to most of its buyers and owners. What will be relevant to owners, though, is that this car is just a huge amount of fun to drive all the time. Unlike some track-focused high-performance cars that are only exciting when you're really at maximum attack, the M2 Competition just oozes feeling and excitement all the time. You can actually enjoy driving this car at reasonable speeds. You can actually use all the power on the road. And there's more steering feel and feedback than I remember from any BMW in quite some time. This is a car that's always amped up and energized and on. And that's what makes it so much fun. From every angle, the M2 Competition looks imposing and serious, what with its flared fenders, big air inlets, those gorgeous 19-inch wheels, and its hunkered down ride height. I also love how it looks inside, from all the exposed matte finish carbon fiber, these snug but not too snug bucket seats, and this sports steering wheel that feels great in my hands. And BMW tops it off with a lot of lovely little details, like the seatbelt has this stitching to look like the M brand's colors. That's cool. By now you're probably thinking, wow, is there anything you don't love about this M2 Competition? Well, yes. Like a lot of high-strung performance cars, it's kind of abrasive on the road when you're not driving it really, really hard. The engine drones a lot and there's tons of tire noise. The ride quality is very, very stiff. This car bounces and jiggles over every little imperfection in the road. You know, in hindsight, maybe it would be nice to have adaptive dampers with a comfort setting. All that steering feedback that's so fun on a back road means this car tramlines and bump steers a little bit. It can require a lot of correction when you're driving on the highway. And fuel economy is a lot worse than the old M2. This one's rated at 17 miles per gallon city and 23 mpg highway, compared to 2026 for last year's M2. But you know what? I don't really care about any of those things when I'm behind the wheel. This car is so good and so involving and so fast that I just want to drive it all day long. The BMW M2 Competition is fast, capable, and hugely fun to drive. Now, at $65,000 as tested, it's not exactly cheap, but that still is a little bit more affordable than the base prices of the M3 and M4. But above all, what I like about this car is that I think it's the right size, the right amount of power, and the right handling balance to be a riot on the road at all times. Somehow, BMW's engineers took their best sports coupe, and made it even better.